I'm James Helder and welcome to a pitch special here as we look back on Arsenal's season for the 21-22 campaign. Firstly, great to have you with us. I'm joined by Arsenal fan Stephen, season ticket holder and regular panellist on the show. Great to have you here, buddy. How are you?
Not bad at all. Thanks, James. Not bad at all. Thank you, mate. You all right?
I'm very well. And we're also joined by Arsenal fan Johnny, all the way from Bonnie, Scotland, Glasgow. Is it raining up there, Johnny? Are you okay? You got a bit of sun?
Got a bit of sun, mate. Everybody's out with their tops off.
I'm telling you. I question, if it's like mild, mid to cloudy, it's classed as sun in Scotland.
That's it, mate. Anything above 1 degree, you're doing well up here, mate.
100%. I'm glad you boys are enjoying it anyway. The reason I've got you both here is I want to look back on Arsenal's season, dissect a few moments and see what you've both made of it. Firstly, I'm going to ask you, what was your highlight of the season? What moment did you really enjoy the most? I'm going to go to you, Stephen, initially on this.
I think probably the highlight of the season for me, I mean, we had some good moments. We beat Chelsea away. That doesn't happen too often. We beat United at home. We beat Tottenham at home. We had some good moments. It was overall, it was quite, there was some things to be positive about throughout the season. I think personally for me, the highlight was the last minute winner against Wolves, simply because it was the best atmosphere I've been at the Emirates for ages. And people were overjoyed, and I actually felt that that was the moment where, it felt like the moment where we were really on course to make the top four. Obviously, we'll probably touch upon that later. But for me, I would say they were the kind of the standout moments, of that season.
Johnny, what was your standout moment of the season for Arsenal?
James, you know what? Arsenal always struggled. I felt like, as Steve said, they're going to teams at Wolves and beating them. See, when they beat them, it was like, oh, I've got a better team now. We can actually beat teams that we struggled to beat. Do you know what I mean? We always struggled against those small, like Tuesday night games away, and hard stadiums. So it gave me a bit of confidence that we would fucking do something. But Tottenham game, and I don't know, it's been a topsy-turvy season. You know what I mean? It's good points and bad points overall, but overall, I'd say it's not too bad. To be honest, it's not too bad, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, the initial home win over Tottenham, buzzing that night at the stadium. I know, Steve, you were there that night. It was a great atmosphere. Really thought we was on the cusp of something big this season, but it hasn't quite worked out for Arsenal. Where do you think it went wrong in terms of securing Champions League football?
For me, I would say, and I felt like it at the time, it felt very pivotal in January when we shipped out Aubameyang. Rightly or wrongly, that's a very divisive topic within Arsenal fans. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But I think to not replace him, I know obviously we were in for Vlahovic apparently, and we were looking at a couple of options. Obviously, we don't want to panic by, and I get all this, but I think if you ship out someone of the calibre of Aubameyang and don't replace them, and don't bolster your squad at all in January when Spurs brought in 2 or 3 really key players that actually made their starting 11. I think I said at the time, if we miss out, it'll be narrow, and it'll be because we didn't bolster when we needed to. We were paper thin. We were 1 or 2 injuries away from disaster, and actually at the end of the season, it came home to roost.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it went wrong for Arsenal this season, Johnny? And James, honestly, is fifth place a failure for Arsenal?
Obviously, for the teams in the past, you would say because Arsenal's a top 4 team. Do you know what I mean? But given the previous years, it's probably not. If you know what I mean. It's a hard one to call, mate. I think Smith Rowe's been a revelation. There's been a lot of good points. But again, I've not got a striker, man. There's not got an out-and-out goal scorer. I don't know. It's just they need to get their squad better. They definitely have to improve the squad to gain any chance this season. Definitely have to get the squad better.
Can you put into words what it felt like to suffer defeat and have Tottenham Hotspur claim that Champions League place ahead of Arsenal, ahead of Arsenal's rebuild, the transition, and everything that goes along with it?
I definitely can. For me, it was. I know this is how when I know it was bad. About 2 weeks later, and this is God's honest truth, I still felt like there'd been a bereavement in the family. Like it was that bad. I'd had my absolute heart set on that claiming top 4. I was so confident right up until even almost until the blimmin' Newcastle game. But in honesty, the Spurs game did highlight the fact that we weren't going to go up to Newcastle and walk all over them. They were a team in good form, but for us to lose from such a strong position to Tottenham, and now look at the players they're now able to attract in this window and they're linked with, it was a hammer blow. It felt huge, and it's the most disappointed I've been with Arsenal since we lost the Champions League final.
Yeah. Johnny, how about you? How much of a
Yes,
hammer blow was it?
Yeah, Steve's bang on there. To be fair, I had a lot of confidence we're going to get top four. The way they were playing, momentum, and they were winning all the time, it was just gone. If it was clicking, and then it was a fucking major blunder. I know what he's saying. It was a major. But I don't know, man. It's again, though. I try to sound positive. I think fifth isn't the end of the world either. Do you know what I mean? But again, it's all about this season. See what they do. They need to bring in players. They need to improve. They need to be consistent. You know what I mean? It all needs to come together.
We've seen Arsenal moving some players on. Lacazette rumoured to be joining Lyon, I believe, or Lille rather. Double check that. That leaves Arsenal without really a recognised goal scorer. I know Eddie Nikita's going to be renewing his contract, which is fantastic to see. But he hasn't proven, especially at the top level yet. What's going on? Who should come in? Who do you think they'll bring in?
I would suggest, funny enough, there's a guy that works with me, and he said that he was on about 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was stopping at one of the services, I think, maybe around Northampton way, and he held the door for Gabriel Jesus. Held the door for him, and he was obviously going northbound, and it was just after the end of the season. So I have a small suspicion that may already be a done deal. For Arsenal. I could be wrong, and that he could end up at Tottenham, but I think the player himself wants to come to Arsenal. If you're a striker, I don't really see that you're going to want to go to Tottenham with let's be honest, the options they've got up front at the moment. Arsenal seems like a really smart move for him and for us. At what would be, it's going to be an expense. We're going to pay a lot of money for him, I think, really. But the guy's proven he's been starting at Man City in big games. And it will be a marquee signing for Arsenal, probably one of the biggest since Alexis Sanchez, I'd imagine. So for us, it's it could be a really positive step forward.
I see all the attraction of the signing, a marquee name, someone with a bit of hunger, point to prove, having not had it all his own way at Man City. But do you think he'll suit Arsenal's style of play? We seem to play as if we've got Giroud up front, and we need that big man, and then we're going to spend a big portion of our budget on a little man. Do you think he is the player that Arsenal really need, or do you think he's the best player available that Arsenal can get?
James, I would probably agree with you in the latter there. Who else is available? Who's out there? Who else do they buy? Do you know what I mean? Like, seems pretty keen to come. And as soon as it's back to who else is available? You're going to struggle, aren't you, to get somebody?
Interesting hypothesis. We've seen Fabio Vieira join the club, tipped as a big star, someone that's bound to hopefully have a big future, certainly at Arsenal. Impact signing, or do you think one for the future? What's your thoughts on him, Stephen? Oh
no, I think that what I noticed last season is Ødegaard is a fantastic. He plays really well in that number 10 berth. In the home games, he's really effective in the home games. Away from home, not so much. I mean, he's been okay, but I think we needed. I know we touched upon Smith Rowe, and I think considering that he's still very early in his career, I think he did have a big. He had a really good season for Arsenal. Tailed off a little bit towards the end, but I feel that we needed another option. Someone a bit creative. I think the stats were like. He's created 16. He had 16 assists last season and a certain amount of goals, I think. Okay, he hasn't played a tremendous amount of game time, but the policy and the process is all about youth and development and building a side, from the ground up. So I think he's a bit in the mould of a Santi Cazorla, so I'm told, and I think that's what the Arsenal fans want. We want someone to excite us again, someone to take the ball forward, dribble in between lines. And create chances, for a striker that hopefully, if we can get him across the line, it'll put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, I think there's method to that signing, definitely.
Mikel Arteta's tried to clear the squad out a little bit. We've seen exodus of some players. Is there anyone remaining at the club, in your opinion, should be given their marching orders by Mikel Arteta? Anyone that's not good enough for the transition and the stage at Arsenal right now for this season?
Holding, maybe, James?
Rob Holding?
He's all right, but I don't know. But then again, he's a backup defender. I can't really think of anybody else. No, there's a lot of young players as well. Not maybe just, I would say Holding. I can't really think of anybody else.
Stephen?
I would say if you know from the first 11, there's certainly concerns around Partey and Tierney. I mean, they just can't seem to stay fit. That's a big concern. I think in terms of the backup players that actually had a big part to play in the run-in, I don't think Nuno Tavares is up to it. I think Cedric, I don't know if he's quite where we need to be in terms of an option to cover such a critical position. Again, Tomiyasu injured half the season. We've identified some areas where we have kind of been exposed in certain games, in key critical games. Aside from that, no, not really. I think we're okay with the squad that we've got, but I think in those areas he'll definitely look to strengthen in this window. I'm
surprised neither of you mentioned record signing Pepe. That fella's stealing a living, I'm telling you.
I like Pepe.
Really?
No, he's not. He's all right. He's a bit. No, he's not great. He's not great.
He hasn't had a lot of game time. To be quite honest, if you look at his, I know he's playing in the position of Saka, who's excellent, outstanding young player, but he hasn't had a lot of game time. He really hasn't. If you look at the stats, and actually when he does play, sometimes he does some really good stuff. But I think it's his consistency, and there's maybe a couple of questions over his work rate, and I think that's what may be holding him back from playing more under Arteta.
What do you think are acceptable targets for excuse me? What do you think are acceptable targets for Mikel Arteta for this season? What do you think would be the level of expectation for Arsenal, for the board, for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal squad for this year coming?
I would say go on, you first, John.
I would say again, challenging top four, try and win an FA Cup. Realistically, I think that's what we're looking at. Do you know what I mean? Because we're not the Man Cities of this world. Do you know what I mean?
I hear that.
Yeah, I don't think Arsenal are. I think even the most optimistic fans couldn't really seriously suggest that we could have a title tilt. I think that would be too far fetched. I agree. We made big progress from 8th to 5th. Is a big step forward. For me now, we have to make the top 4. Absolutely have to make the top 4. This is Arsenal Football Club. The problem is the fans have accepted mediocrity that they have, and people say, well, 5th isn't so bad. 20 years ago, none of us would be saying 5th isn't so bad. We'd be saying the manager's got to go. We would never have imagined being in 5th position. Never imagined. So, we need to get our mindset right. We're a big club. We're still bigger than Tottenham, and they might have a better stadium. We're still bigger than Tottenham with a richer history. And, with owners that have got more financial clout. Not that we're going to necessarily see that. But, the big two and Chelsea, I suppose, as well. You'd expect Man United are going to come through, but ultimately their squad needs an absolute, an overhaul, basically. So I do feel that, it's going to be between us and Spurs for that 4th spot. But because they're going to have Champions League, I know we'll have Europa League, but we really need to make sure that we secure top 4 next season. Otherwise, I think it's going to be hard to justify Arteta staying in the job.
If Arsenal get off to a bad start, do you think the terraces, the North Bank, they could turn on Arteta quite quickly this season?
Definitely, James. Definitely. Fans have a lot of patience. You know what I mean? Nowadays, the modern football fan isn't very patient. I'm not saying the older one was any more patient, but because social media, because it's in your face more, people are talking about it on blogs. You know what I mean? It's just, I can see it happening. If it doesn't, it's like first 5 games. If it didn't get good results, I could see a tit out. To be honest, I could see that starting.
Can you imagine if the start is similar to last season, having made that progress? How will people sort of accept that?
Oh. No, do you know what? The one thing I will say, if you look at history and you look at, an Alex Ferguson or Jurgen Klopp, both of those managers took, they had a settling in period where they built the squad they wanted, because you inherit a squad, right? And you have to build the squad you want. And I think, Alex Ferguson was given loads of time at Man United. We are talking about different times, but look at what he did. And Arteta's only a young manager. And if we really do believe in his philosophy, and we're hearing from Pep Guardiola, he's a football genius and all the rest of it, I quite like the way he speaks, I have to be honest. If we're going to really trust in him, then we have to give him the time. But I think as an Arsenal fan, we are becoming a little impatient. We do want to be challenging. I mean, the reason I wanted to be in the Champions League is because then we're probably 2 or 3 seasons away from making the quarters or the semi-finals. But we want to be in that conversation again. We want to be competing for the major prizes. Look how, I watched the Champions League final with absolute envy, every season. And I want a piece of that again,
Yeah, well, hopefully Mikel Arteta is the man to take Arsenal back. I think anything under Champions League football next season is a failure from Arsenal's point of view. They need to really kick on from the progression and transition the club's made. Credit to Arteta, because it looks like he's brought in some good players. Everyone seems buzzing. Doesn't seem like we're hearing any bad or negative stories coming out. He's got rid of the dead weight. So I'm hoping for 1 or 2 signings, and hopefully that'll be a striker. Whether that be Gabriel Jesus or not, I don't know if he fits the Arsenal system. I don't know if he's the one. He could end up playing out wide. Don't know if he's going to be an out-and-out number 9 for Arsenal. But we'll see. We shall see. Gentlemen, I've got to say, it's been a great pleasure to discuss Arsenal season with you so far. Is there any final bulletin points you would like to add on before we vamoose and go and enjoy a little bit of this warm weather? Not for you, Johnny. Obviously, it's snowing up there.
Steve, can I ask you a question, James? Who does you think the Arsenal captain should be? Just curious.
Good question, that, Johnny.
The Arsenal captain. It's a really good question, actually. It feels to me at the moment like we don't have a natural leader. Like if I go back to my childhood and I think of a Tony Adams or even a Sol Campbell or a Patrick Vieira, I felt like they were leaders of men. You hear about some of the team talks they've given, even Martin Keown. I don't necessarily know if we've got that. I think most people would probably agree the closest we've got is our fiery Scotsman, Kieran Tierney. And I think if he were to have a long, a continued run in the side, he's got the passion. He's, he plays, he leaves it all on the pitch. Everyone loves him at Arsenal. He's a cracking player. If he can stay fit, I would have no problem. We've had young captains, Cesc Fabregas. We've had young captains. I'd have no problem in him having a band. I don't think you can go back to Xhaka now. Too much water under the bridge. I thought Aubameyang was the wrong guy, to be honest with you. So I would probably, and I could be wrong. It's probably up for debate, but I would probably say, just from what I witnessed when I go, I'll probably have Tierney.
That's the thing.
Yeah, same here. I'm not biased. He's Scottish, but aye.
You just said that because he's Scottish, didn't you?
No, mate, but honestly, Steve said the passion's there. And the modern football back line needs that drive. Some of these guys are too quiet. Aubameyang was never a captain. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a professional football player, but everybody knows that. Do you know what I mean?
I always find it weird when teams have a striker as captain.
I know.
Why? How much of the game can you see when it's behind you? How much can you talk to your teammates and inspire? It's a weird one. Tierney, I understand the argument for, but it's just the injuries that worry me.
I know.
Captain's got to be the most consistent player, the player that always is in the team. Do you know what I mean? How do we get that if said players on the treatment table? It's a tough one. It really is. Maybe Arsenal should look at signing some players with higher leadership attributes. See how that goes on.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen, thank you.
James, he was injured. Sorry, I'm just going to say he's very injured opponent at Celtic as well. He was always injured at Celtic, to be honest with you.
Say that again.
He was always injured at Celtic.
Okay.
Tierney.
What, injured?
Yeah, he's a bad injury-prone player. That's the problem with Tierney. He's a great player, but injured a lot, mate.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have played both the games for Scotland, both the friendlies.
I know. I don't get that, Steve.
I don't get that. I didn't get that.
There's no need for it.
No, but
Steve, if Scotland need all the good players, maybe you're not got very good players up here, so we need as much talent as we've got. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it is.
It's like Canada. They play Davies up front. Play him up front. He's a left back. Brilliant. Always make it laugh. All right, lads. Thank you very much for your time today. It's great to get you on. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, download our app at Pitch Football. Loads of shows, content, interviews, giveaways, opinions, and you name it, we got it. Thank you very much to the boys for their time today, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you very much. Goodbye.